So this chant is pretty much the talk. We can just go over it again. Because it says for frequent recollection. When's the last time you recollected this? Probably not frequently enough. Except for Roy. One of the things I saw, each time you do these, they come to you a little differently. Dhammomi. Dhammo, nature, related obviously to Dhamma. So you see the connection. One of the translations, understandings of Dhamma, which is teaching, is also the nature of reality. So the Dharma, the Dhamma, is not just the Buddha's teaching, but the Buddha was sort of exposing us to just the way things are. This is the nature of reality. These are, like there are physical laws of physics, there are spiritual laws. And karma is one of them. Karma is one of them. That's the truth of, and these are truths that when you contemplate them, you say, yeah, of course, it's not something you have to believe in. You either see it or you don't see it. But if you don't see it, you're not going to believe in it. What kind of faith is that? The faith and the confidence that you have in the Dharma is that it accords more and more with the way reality is. It's a perception you have. You say, oh yeah, of course. This is the nature of reality, the Dharma, the teaching of Dharma. And so here we say, I'm the nature to age, and the nature of sickness, ill health, nature of death, or dying. Those are interesting dhammas, meaning interesting teachings. What are those teachings? What are the teachings? What's the dharma of aging, sickness, and death? That's when we're saying I am the nature of it. It's the same word as the teaching, the Buddha's teaching. So the suggestion here would be that there's an important teaching of awakening to explore in the experience of aging, sickness, and death. That it's not just recollecting, oh yeah, I'm going, this will happen, yeah, this is truth. But rather, what is the teaching here? This is sort of why the same word Dhamma and Dhammo, nature and teaching, are the same root here, is because when we explore nature, the nature of reality, it's in order to instruct us of how to live well. How do we live in an enlightened way? What is the teaching? What do I need to understand here in order to live in a more enlightened way? Well, it's not just recognizing that bad things happen. Bad things happen, okay? And if we define aging, sickness, and death as bad things, okay, well, that's obvious. It's all around us. Even though there's that famous teaching, well-known one about the woman who came to the Buddha. Well, she didn't come to the Buddha, actually. Her baby died, and she couldn't bear to part with him or her. I don't know if it was a male or female baby. And wrapped him up, and after 5 days, he started smelling. The friends forced her to visit the Buddha, hoping he would help her part with the baby. And he did, in skillful means, say, go find a mustard seed from any house that hasn't had a death in it. And she went around the whole city, and nobody knocking on the door, and everybody then told her, oh yeah, well, whoever died. And then she came back with no mustard seed, but with an understanding that, yeah, I'm ready to bury my child now. That was the Dhamma, the Dhammo, the Dhamma of the Dhammo, okay? It was the teaching of death. That was the teaching of death that allowed her to what? To really accept that is the nature, and that then she could let go. So the teaching there for her was the teaching of letting go. You can accept that death is a Dhammo, is a nature of reality, and I'm the nature of death. or that the people I love are the nature of death as well, or that there's all sorts of death going on. But it hasn't become a dharma for you, a Dhamma, until you have translated that experience into release, into real release. So that's how we have to approach these natures of realities. How do we transform it into the way I live? Well, with more inner freedom, less attachment, and more ability to relate on a non-self-centered way. Well, how can I help more? It's not just about me. So these are real important recollections, but what are we trying to recollect here? What are we trying to remember? Again, what is the teaching in this experience? What is the enlightened teaching in this experience? What is the awakening that I need to have from this experience? Do we recollect enough from this point of view? We all know these experiences pretty well. I mean, anybody who is aging, which is all of us, experience age. Now, most of you, like yesterday when I was talking about this, I looked out. The Jerusalem group generally is a little younger. I don't know why. I guess the students come to Jerusalem and then they leave. and so they kind of pass through the group. And here people stay a little longer. So they experience age a little longer. And in the Jerusalem group, they don't age much. So when I talk about age, it's sort of like, it just passes over their short heads. Doesn't and death, forget it. Right? Death. I'm the nature of aging, okay, and I'm looking forward to it. But at some point, it's no longer something, and everyone has a sort of turning point in your own personal history, where instead of always looking forward, you spend as much or more time looking back. There's a certain turning point, and then it starts to, the balance shifts, and it starts to weigh more, and then instead of expectations, the scale has more regret.
Midlife crisis.
Midlife crisis? Yeah, well, what if it starts at 20? At 90? Yeah, good for you. Quarter life crisis. Yes. Well, it depends how long you're going to live, right? I mean, when is midlife? I mean, it could be 10. Honestly, when is your midlife? I mean, your crisis is whenever it happens. You think it's only going to be one? When is when is the middle of your life? And what happens when you're old? And the recollection, the Dharma of aging, is it just when you're old that you start to really internalize the teaching of awakening, of letting go? But if we do it then, isn't it kind of less likely that after so many years of being attached that we'll suddenly be able to wake up to what age has to offer? And if we don't start contemplating and recollecting when you're young and healthy, the Dharma of aging, then you think we'll be able to do it when you're old and kind of confused, as most old people are? I don't mean old like anyone in this room. I mean like old. When something happens, where's Ellis? We were just talking to his mom's 91. Are you still here, Ellis? No, he's gone. But this story, I'm sure he wouldn't mind. I mean, his mother, he was just saying, I'm having this hard time because my mother fell, she broke her hip, and now she's in hospital. That's such a classic thing, You're living your life, you're totally fine, then you have what seems at any other age, any other time, a pretty ordinary injury, but then your life has changed and it's going down fast. And now she's in a sort of a care center that she's not going to leave. So it's not for of course he wouldn't do that to say, now you have to let go. I mean, the teaching is the Dharma is not going to be discovered then. Maybe for some, if you have a sort of karma that is somehow going to open up at that time. But if you want to create the karma of awakening that will allow you to experience age as a teaching, the only regret we can have is we didn't start a lot earlier. Like some of the Tibetan kids who, like, they're 4, a Rinpoche is recognized, and now they're meditating on death. And they're 4. So what is not just to contemplate, and I don't think when we're talking about the Dharma of age, the teaching of age, meaning when it's the nature of age, that I'm the nature of age. Age is not just when you're old. Age is whatever age you are right now. What is the Dharma, what is the teaching of awakening of this age now? Your age, whether it's 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 80, whatever, 91 in the hospital, I'm not going to say 10, whatever. Here, I'm not going to ask who the youngest person is. But whatever you are, there's a Dharma there. What is the nature of that? You are aging, I have to say, as rapidly as anyone else in the room. Now, everybody's pretty much aging. We're going along here together. Right? When is your midlife? For everyone, it's different. And somebody who's younger may actually have already passed midlife. Do you know that? No, you don't. So start your crisis now. What is the Dharma that we need to understand of aging? Is it just accepting that I'm aging? The first noble truth is the teaching of dukkha, of that there is something unsatisfying in our human existence, that is bound up with being alive, that there's a sort of dissatisfaction, there's always a lack. There's something missing, always. And it gives us a sense of dis-ease, so we don't feel at peace with life. Where is that lack at this age? What is the lack of this age? If you're young, it's usually always looking ahead and thinking, I want to graduate, I want to work, I want to get these things, I want to get married, I want to have a family, all these things in the future. There's dis-ease there. It seems exciting. You're looking ahead and you want to plan, and there's so much to look forward to. That's also dukkha, though. You should notice that the aging of that age, the Dhamma of that age, is also dukkha. Even though it's happy and excited. It still is, I'm missing something, I want to fill it up, and it'll happen later. But you're alive now and you don't know if you're going to get there. You really don't know if you're going to get there. Are you past midlife? Are you end life now? You don't know. And it's not to say you are or are not, but that there's a Dharma of this age, right now. And the Dharma is connected with the dukkha of that age. And there's a special, specific dukkha to every moment, to every age. And what is the dukkha of that age that you should explore, uncover, and then relieve and release? Because remember, the point of the path is the end of dukkha, right? Teaching of dukkha in order to end the dukkha. But you won't know what to end unless you know what it is. So the Dharma of this age has a specific dukkha that you probably should explore and recollect. And so when we're saying frequent recollecting, it's not just theoretical aging. And it's not the aging of my mother who's sick, It's not the aging of other people. That may help, but it's always at a distance, isn't it? Like when you are contemplating someone else's suffering, isn't it kind of removed? It may help, but it's not as, enlightening as your own experience. So you got to turn the light within and say, okay, my age right now, what is the dukkha inherent in this age? And that's what I can recollect and explore. Because you want to relieve that. It doesn't mean if you're young you shouldn't be looking forward and working towards some goals in the future. But just notice within that working, there is a dis-ease and a lack that can sometimes prevent you from being whole with who and what you are right now. Now, of course, with every other age, I mean, it becomes even, easier to say trace. Middle age. Middle age, which is defined as sometimes having a kind of, mild cold that never goes away. Just gets worse. I thought I was supposed to get better already, but you don't. And then, and old age, and everything in between. The dukkhas and the dharmas of every age. And remember, the first noble truth is not just a problem, but the Buddha is teaching the Dharma, which is the Dhamma, which is the Dhamma, which is the nature. So when he's teaching about dukkha, now he's teaching about the nature reality. Can you see nature clearly? I mentioned sometimes last week, I mentioned Joan Halifax, and she has this great line in her book when she's discussing suffering. She said that you fear less that which you see clearly. Right? It was a really wonderful line. She was talking about it in relation to this experience she had when she went to Mount Kailash. Has anyone been there? Always wanted to go. It's like on one of my checklists that I'll never get to. One of my future plans, well, that I'm still healthy. I wasn't going to say I'm healthy. Is do the circumambulation of that holy mountain. It's considered the holiest mountain in Buddhist and Hindu mythology. And in fact, it's so holy that it's probably one of the only mountains that no one has ever climbed. You're not allowed to climb it. So no one has actually walked on that mountain. You can only walk around it. So those snows are still like original snows on it. It's not the highest mountain, but it's just like important. Anyway, so you have this, I don't know how long it is, 50 kilometers or something to go around. And the Tibetan pilgrims, they circumambulate, meaning they go around it, often in full prostration. They have like leather pads and stuff, and they're on the dust all the way around. That's how they, up and down, up and down, up and down. Imagine that. But there are a couple of areas, since it's very high elevation, where they have a charnel ground. What is a charnel ground? Charnel ground is like this old term for an open kind of burial, open cemetery. It's an open cemetery. And it's all rock, right? So you don't bury anybody. And because it's high up, there are, circling eagles and vultures. So in the tradition that the final gift of a dead body, the final act of compassion, is to feed those birds with the body. And the relatives assist by cutting up the body. Okay? Try to think how different that approach is to death from our approach of see no evil, hear no evil, smell no evil, for sure. Okay, bury it out of sight, out of mind. Right, that's our approach, and then you kind of deal with the grief for years after because you didn't even see what happened. It's not even sterile, it's just like not there. And here it is so vivid. So she was saying that she was full of, she's the abbot of a Zen center, and she said she was full of disgust and revulsion. She just was so, she wanted to throw up. But the monks, forced her, said, you got to sit down here. You got to sit among the bodies, right? Pretty extreme. But this is, in relation to that, she said that you fear less that which you can look clearly at, which you can see clearly. So seeing death very clearly, can we see our own death? No, you can't. Can you visualize it? Can you, whatever, that's a fantasy, isn't it? there's a story about a student who asked his Zen teacher, what happens after life? What happens, after you die? And he said, I don't know. So, why don't you know? I mean, you're a Zen master. He said, yeah, but not a dead one. So, even sitting among dead bodies, I don't know, maybe some of you have gone to India and you've sat and you looked at the bodies being burned and things like that. It still is, it's very visceral, and it's pretty close and vivid and graphic and sensory, but it's not you. It's still not you. So in a sense, the contemplation of death, it is important. It is important. And maybe even to contemplate your own death if you can. I'm not sure how. There are meditations on that. A Tibetan book of the dead, going through the bardo and all that. It's interesting. The Dharma of death, though, becomes more vivid for us, however, when we do recollect the Dharma of impermanence, where he said here, all that is mine, beloved and pleasing, will become otherwise, will become separated from me. And what's more beloved than the ones you love? Right? What's more beloved than that? So yeah, it is pretty amazing experience, perhaps, to go sit among, dead bodies, and to have a meditative walk through a cemetery. There are several cemeteries in Jerusalem. They're quite nice. Around Mamila, there's one. It's kind of built over, though. And then there's some Templar ones down right in the center. In Jewish cities, they always put the cemeteries outside, so because Jerusalem is more mixed, then they have like these old historical, really pretty ones. Whereas I found the Jewish ones not very meditative. It's like this is stone blocks and stuff. So it's nice. Anyone gone for a little stroll in a cemetery? No? Like, where do you go? Like, where do you walk? Like, where's the nearest cemetery? Odd question, isn't that? Stop on the street. Where's the nearest cemetery? You've gone?
In Manila, but it's just on the way to places.
Yeah, but still, still you can slow down and enjoy it.
There's one in central Tel-Aviv where
Oh yeah?
Not far away from here. Well,
really?
Around Rothschild and Herzl, around that area.
That's interesting.
It's behind Gunmail.
Yeah.
I went to a funeral and I just took the time after the funeral to
Enjoy.
meditation around, but being there also.
It's a good way to recollect. So why am I saying this? I'm saying it, it's kind of funny, but it's not, because what I'm suggesting is that these recollections, if we just do them out of context as a mental exercise, it doesn't impress much. It's not going to change your thinking and mind so much. It's not going to make it alive. How do we make this more into a living practice? And taking time to, if you're going to do walking meditation, why not do it in a cemetery? I mean, if you're going to explore illness is another really important one. Yeah, you've been sick, but if you're only going to do the recollection when you're sick, it's not going to happen for most of us so often, right? And when it does, it's sort of, I'm going to recollect the nature of sickness, and I really hope to get better soon. Right? That's natural. But recollecting sickness, when's the last time you were in a hospital? Now, hospitals are pretty accessible, and most of us know somebody who, at least every month, you might know somebody or hear somebody who's in a hospital. And it takes a little effort to go and visit. But not only are you helping that person, but when you walk through those hallways, I was in Hadassah and Karim yesterday. A friend of mine needed to be picked up. As I was walking around there, it's a big complex. Young, old, mothers, fathers, children, grandparents, you know, people on crutches, people in wheelchairs, people, and nobody's smiling, okay? Everyone is unhappy. Nobody wants to be there. I mean, nobody. It's a place that is only about illness, a hospital. And it's a huge institution, right? There are thousands of people there. Well, I don't know. Depends on the hospital. But all you have to do is you walk through the hallway, you just go in the entrance. And you're surrounded by this, the reality of it. The reality. So what I'm saying is that these recollections don't need, you know, they need real reinforcement. You're walking down the street and you hear people coughing, or there's people on the sick, and your instinct is like, move away. But it's this recollection. What is the Dharma here? The reality, the Dhamma is first. I mean, to recollect that it's a reality. And we tend to, hide these things away. It's not that we're hiding from it, but we're all working together to keep it out of sight. Illness, we kind of see as a failure. Now, most people, I mean, you ask somebody who gets cancer or something, one of the first things that they experience is a guilt. Like, what did I do to get this? That it's like my fault that you failed. We judge, because we elevate youth and health as such role models and ideals. Do you ever see old models? No. Then the opposite is seen as a sort of a failure. So that's why we treat old people increasingly with disrespect. Because you're failing, you're a failure. Loser. You got old. Right? And someone who's sick is, I guess you weren't taking care of yourself, were you? Right? We also blame. Not much compassion there. Aging and sickness and death are the dharmas of deep suffering, of deep dukkha. When we first recollect that those states are the truth of dukkha, then hopefully some of our compassion can awaken. When we also recollect that it is universal. What does universal mean? Universal is not a general statement, it's not theoretical, it's me. Right? The universal starts with you. Aging, sickness, and death, impermanence, everything you're going to lose, it starts with you. So what I'm really recommending is that we take these recollections, maybe one a week. Take one recollection a week. Take aging. Okay? And notice how it is your reality. Notice how it is your teaching. And explore how it can awaken some greater insight and compassion. And compassion and wisdom is what we're trying to cultivate here. You want to go to illness? You're sick, you know someone who's sick, you're going to be in the hospital? Do that. You're going to choose another week? Death? If you can, go to a funeral. Definitely. Spend some time in a cemetery. Make the effort. You have to make a bit of effort. Right? So the right effort is to take these contemplations and actually work on them, with intention. Make them intentional, not just happenstance, not just, by chance. Oh yeah. So that's why we say frequent recollections. I don't know how much time we have. I mean, we have 10 minutes tonight. But I don't know how much time I have to recollect this and make it real. I don't know for my own life. I definitely don't know for your life. There's a classic Zen gatha. Gatha is like a kind of a chant. It's called the Evening Gatha. That is recited in centers before the evening meditation. Let me respectfully remind you. It goes, life and death are of supreme importance. Time swiftly passes by. An opportunity is lost. Strive to awaken. Awaken. Do not squander your life. Bong. And it's it's stern, serious. It's chastising you a little bit, because it's recognizing what we know, that I've wasted a lot of opportunity. Denying these things. It's not a depressing recollection. It's actually quite awakening, enlivening. It means I'm not going to be so confused. I'm going to actually, I have an insightful and helpful way of perspective to face these realities. Otherwise, it just seems like I'm always in, a path of loss. And here, with the loss, we gain insight, we gain wisdom, we gain freedom. And it's the freedom that you'll get from these recollections is greater than the loss that's going to happen from the aging, sickness, and death. So, there was, did I mention this last week? There was by a student of mine who found out she had epilepsy. Did I mention that last week? So, she's not a Buddhist. None of my regular students are. I hope none of you are. Guess in the way. So they have to give a little speech. They have to give a speech at the end of the semester. And she stood up and she said, a week ago I didn't know what I was going to talk about. And then I found myself suddenly in an ambulance on the way to the hospital. I woke up and they told me that I had had an epileptic seizure, a grand mal. And it lasted like 6 minutes. She had no idea. That's major. Okay, that's major. And she had never had one before. This is the first one. She's like 23, and she just discovered that she has serious epilepsy. And she she continued to give her speech to talk about how it really changed her life. She lost her license. She can't drive anymore. She doesn't know if she can swim anymore. Having children and taking care of them is it's not a no, it's just now another thing to worry about. And things are different. People have to know, and they have to care for her differently. She didn't use this word, but she was describing what was a transformative experience. She wasn't sad or angry. She was like, she made it funny. She said, and then I knew what I was going to talk about for my speech. She obviously has some good karma, because I don't think a lot of us would, suddenly wake up and feel like, wow, this is, I can't believe this. We'd be like, oh my God, my life is over. How could this happen to me? Why me? Yeah? She's a young woman. A couple of weeks before, I heard another young woman who, at the age of 25, was diagnosed with MS. She didn't know. We can say, yeah, these are exceptional cases. Yeah, they are. Every case is exceptional because every person is exceptional. You're also exceptional. It may be exceptional that you'll live to 100 without any problems. It may be exceptional that within a few days you may feel something and get checked and think, wow, my life has now changed completely. You know, it's all exceptional. This life is exceptional. And that's why we have to really remember how to live it well. To see clearly reality. And then when you see clearly, you won't be afraid of it. And when you don't have fear, then you can really care. You can't be afraid and love at the same time. It's really not possible. So look clearly at your experience, and it will teach you what you need to know to awaken your mind and heart. It's just the Dharma of the Dharma, of the Dhamma. So yesterday, I was walking on the along the bike path. I saw a friend of mine who I don't see so frequently anymore because he was diagnosed with cancer. I don't know what kind of cancer. I had a long talk with him. But he's up and about now. He's weak, he's thin, you know, I don't know where it's going to go. He's had treatment. And I also don't really know what to say to someone like that. You're not close, but you're not... So I simply said, how are you feeling? And he simply answered, it's been a good day. That was it. And that was enough. You know? He's not thinking about the future so far. And he's not thinking about the past so far. Yeah. We're all of that nature. The nature of illness, of aging, of death, of change, and of our actions. And if it can bring us back to give us some greater focus on today, I think that's part of the Dharma. So may you be well. So before we finish with a minute to sit, is there anything anyone would like to say or share?
I think they don't only bring us back to the moment, but they help us to see more clearly the future, to know what our goals and aims should be. So it's very important also to think about the future in this perspective.
Yeah. I mean, understanding that I'm the nature of death, I'm not dead now, so that statement in itself is about the future, you know, like it is about the future. If I'm not sick right now, well, there's, you know, sickness in me that's going to develop. But if I'm not experiencing it, it's not about right this moment. It is making a pretty certain prediction. So yeah, to see clearly is also to say, yes, this is certainly going to happen. You know? Yeah. To live without denial.
I have a question. You talked about at what age do you start practicing and learning the Dhamma. And forgive me if I'm getting the terms incorrectly. But you also said, let's say that I just started practicing, am I supposed to regret not practicing it when I was younger? Because regret causes suffering, and it was all about removal of suffering, and if I regret, I simply suffer for no reason. So, am I supposed to regret that I haven't discovered the Dhamma before?
Yep. Yes and no. Let me put it this way. There's regret that you can't do anything about, and then there's, I don't know if the word is regret, but there is, you could even say like inspirational regret. I'm trying to think of the English term. I know there is one, but I can't recall it right now. But if we look back at something and we say, okay, well, missed opportunity, can that create greater motivation for me to practice now? So if it does, because, oh, I actually have less time now. Yeah, I missed a lot of time, so I got to make up for it. So it actually can help me to, say, double my efforts now. Or does it just make me feel that I sort of, like wasted time? So I think looking back and saying, like realistically, maybe it would have been good. I would, in an ideal world, if I could go back, I would start learning. But since that's my value now, it means that, and now I know I have less time, I better get to it. So it can,
so it's about
motivate me.
Yeah, so it's about what you do with that regret.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it demotivates me because I'm like, how can I ever, I'll never get to that level. And we can say that about so many things, not just the Dharma. How many of us say don't start? How many of us, myself included, think if I only had started a musical instrument when I was 4, I wouldn't be talking to you. I'd be playing in a concert, an orchestra right now. I'd be famous. No, I would not that, but I would have a musical instrument, a musical ability, and now how am I going to start that at 50? I mean, come on.
I'm too old.
I'm too old. Like, gosh, I'll spend 20 years and I'll sound like an 8-year-old. Do I really want to? Or I can say, yeah, if not now, when? If not now, when? And at least I'm motivated now. Yeah? Waiting all this time, I better do it. I'll be less able to do it later on. So you can see, it can go 2 directions. And if we want to look at our past as sort of a positive instruction, it is looking and noticing the missed opportunity. It's not denying that. I don't think it would be right to deny that, but to use that to motivate us now. I think that is possible. Yeah. You may regret not saying anything. But if it motivates you to come next week, great. Yeah?
I'd like to ask maybe for another sentence or two about the fear and love.
Yeah. Well, one of the qualities we want to cultivate in our practice is called metta, which is loving kindness, caring for others and wishing them to be happy, and wishing all beings to be happy. And if your mind has like some fear of a situation or another person, that will block any genuine positive feelings. So that metta needs to be real. But fear really conquers anything else, and it will really overwhelm our ability to cultivate other positive feelings. So if we have fear, if you go in and visit, let's say you visit somebody who's dying in a hospital, and if your experience is fear, it'll be hard for you to feel much compassion and love at the same time. The fear will really, it blocks it. And I'm not saying you won't feel fear, but by seeing clearly the nature of, reality here, and not that their dying is a failure of the medical profession or of their bodies, but they're living their truth right now. This is truth. Then it's easier to generate some positive feelings. And that's what I meant. So let's finish with just a few seconds to sit and breathe and enjoy the quiet for another moment. Yeah, we can make a sort of inner commitment, inner vow, that each of us in our own ways will practice these recollections. Choose them as you see fit, and explore it in your life. These different recollections, these different teachings of reality, and to do it frequently.